All right, welcome back to another Marvel Strike Force video. And today, I'm going to be showcasing you a very awesome tool that I found on Reddit a couple months ago. I shared with the other officers in my alliance, and I promised a video explaining how to show it, but I never got around to it. And honestly, I'm surprised I never really used it as much as I have in the past few weeks. It has a lot of features. The only downside is a lot of the data you actually have to put in yourself. One thing you will need is this number right here, your PID. You can't see my mouse, just realize that, and I apologize. I am using an emulator to run Marvel Strike Force at 60 FPS, which is an entirely different video if people are interested, but I'm not going to get into that just yet. So what you'll need is your PID, your icon. You can set it to whatever you want. This is the least important part, the icon is. And you'll need to know your all-time arena rank, your latest arena rank. You can do the Blitz stuff in it, but I don't really use it. I think that might actually be calculated. Again, I'm not 100% sure what is automatically put in and what is manually put in, because I only honestly use a couple features in it, not every feature. Simply because I'm not an in-game player, I don't have enough of these teams to put in to where it tells me what's good, what's bad, what use this, don't use this, or whatever. So, you will need to know your roster. And let's swap over so you can see what I am talking about. All right, so on screen, you will now see the Marvel Strike Force roster organizer. I will have a link to the original so you can create a copy in your Google Drive and you can get to editing this information. So, I don't have my face cam simply because, one, it was a lot of effort to add into a new scene. I could have just added a new source, but, you know, hindsight's 20/20. So, here's what the profile tab looks like. You input your player name, icon, your PID, which I'm going to very quickly double check is my own. It is. Very good. And it will automatically calculate your TCP, your STP, characters collected, and characters at max star rank. War MVPs, you have to put in individually. You have to put in your all-time arena rank and your usual arena rank, which is latest. That's what it has changed over to. So I'm going to very quickly update my Blitz wins simply because I like to look at that. So as you can see, I just changed it from 668 to 688. And we'll move on to the next tab, which is a news tab. This is a bunch of different things you can use. It includes an FTD guy. It links to marvelstrikeforce.gg, MSF events, all the official Discords, Reddit, Casino, Ravager Report, Dutch Rudder, a lot of stuff. It'll also include some bits of data mine information, which are not always reliable. So we're going to move on to the next tab, which is the roster tab, and this is where it starts to get confusing. So all of this information you have to put in yourself. So let's take a look at my roster real quick. All right. The easiest way to do this is to filter by tags. I cannot stress this enough. It will make your life easier. If you want to make it extremely easy, you go to Blaster, since that's the first one, and then you're going to rearrange it to be alphabetical, because that's what this list is in, and that'll make it a lot easier. So let's swap back over to our roster organizer. And let's double check that everything is correct. So we have aim assaulter. Not much has changed. Let's go to a character that I know for a fact has changed. And that will be... I don't actually have one on blasters. So I'll just go back to my all. And I will reset all my filters just because it's easier that way. So I'm going to find someone real quick to, I don't know, ability up or gear tier up or whatever. So I'm going to settle on improving my good friend. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Aim Researcher. So let's swap back over to the game real quick so you can see what I'm doing. So all this information right here, I'm going to gear him up as high as possible. Just simply because, like I said, I was going to build up that aim team. I did mention that in my Blitz video, which came out shortly before this. Probably a couple days, because I want to stretch my information. Who knows, it might be an hour after. Depends on what I'm feeling. So I couldn't get him much up, but his power has changed. Oh, his power has changed. And now I'm going to at least improve his abilities through green materials. So there we go. All that has changed. His power is now 1522, gear tier 2, ability level 3, 2, locked. So, what I'm going to do is swap back over to the roster manager. And I am going to find, under support, which is at the bottom, Aim Researcher. So, what I'm going to do right here, you can see it's labeled as 1 and it's green. I'll explain that in a second. I'm going to change it to 3. Move on to the next tab, which is 2. And then, passive is still locked, so I'm going to leave it blank. Gear tier is now 2. You can see that changed from being green to this kind of grayed out color. Again, I'm about to touch on that. And then re-enter as 1522. So, you might be wondering, okay, what's up with all the colors? Why is this important? And honestly, it kind of tells you what you can improve to be an optimal setup. So all of these colors indicates things that, based on the information you've put in, you can and should improve. It's not looking at, okay, what's meta? Okay, you should focus solely on this. No, this is focusing on a strong and broad roster, which is arguably good for war, arguably better for Blitz, arguably good for raids. But all in all, if you're like me and you want to be a collector, as I like to call myself, you'll want to collect everything, unlock every character, and power them up and use them. And that's what these colors are basically focusing on. So, over here, in this little section, you will see a recommended level and gear tier for that level. So, because our aim researcher is, and let me show you, level 30. Now, let's go back to the roster. Level 30. It says I should have aim researcher at gear tier 6. So, let's go back down to aim researcher. Yep, gear tier is colored green. Now, what does this green mean? It means that it's gear tier 2. Everything is color-coded to tell you, hey, this is what gear tier you're at. If it has a color, it means it can be improved. If it doesn't have a color, like, where's my Deadpool? Or not my Deadpool, my Daredevil. Daredevil. Level 60. Gear tier 11. At level 60, you should be at gear tier 11. Again, this is not for meta. This is not, oh, I want to be the best of the best. This is, what can your roster improve on? Yeah. So let's take Cable, for example. I have him at level... I actually believe this might be incorrect. Let me go to my Cable. Nope, Cable is correct. So level 30 and gear tier 6. It says right here his ultimate should be powered up. So let's swap back to the game and see if that is possible. Yep, if I had 7 more blue mats, I could do it. And I would. But at the same time, this is not a do it immediately. It's a, if you're farming shards to star up a character, or if you're farming gear for a character, you'll get these mats or training modules, and it kind of gives you an idea of, okay, what can you improve? So Psychic Surge, I'm personally not going to improve on that just yet, simply because Cable right now is at the bottom of my list. What I'm building is a hand team for the Ancient Relic events, or whatever it's called, and also a Merc team for the Payday event. So that's what I'm focusing on, and that's what I'm using this roster to tell me, okay, what can I improve on? Who is ready to star up? Who is needing another gear tier? Who is yada, yada, yada? It's a good idea of what makes what usable. So let's swap back over to the roster. And let's move on to the next tab, because I think... Wait a second. If it has color, it means you can use ability mats to improve it, and it tells you what ability mats you need to improve it. Roles, it's pretty self-explanatory. There are different colors for different roles. Start upgrades. If it's yellow, that means, hey, you're close to leveling, or to ranking up. And if it's green, it means, hey, you can rank this character up. And then it has some more information right here for nodes. I have yet to find a use for that in this, but it's there. One thing I would like to point out is you don't have to always go to this as soon as you level someone up to fill it out, because honestly, that's going to take forever. Once a week, if you want to spend 10, 15 minutes going through your roster and updating this information, go for it. If you just want to do it on a character-by-character basis, let's say you're in the game and you're at your computer or you're near your computer and you go to a character and you're like, hey, I'm going to level this character up. I'm going to gear it up. I personally would pull this roster manager up and correct the information as I go about it. So I'm always using my emulator to play simply because I live at my computer, basically. And that makes it really easy for me to update this information. So let's move on to the next tab, which is the Raid tab. So what is this tab used for? It's for, well, organizing your teams, your usable teams. And it tells you what variation percentage, which... It also gives you a tier list for each character, which is based off of a, I want to say it's Casino's guide, but I don't know for sure. So Daredevil's Elite, Luke Cage's Elite, Jessica Jones's Demigod, Demigod Elite. Basically, the closer to God you are, the better you are. In the example of Kree Royal Guard, right here. Trash tier. Bad. Move on. Most people would use Captain Marvel or Thanos or Korath. Think of his name. So these are the teams that I've told this roster organizer that, hey, I use these teams in Ultimus, which we run Ultimus 6, and we tend to get 60%. Sometimes. Participate, people. I am one of those people. Anyways, my roster is not at a good point for Ultimates, but that's a different discussion for a different time. Paul, you keep your mouth shut. So I tell it I use Pun Fenders. I used to use Shield Minions back when I first started out, back when we were running like Ultimates 2 or something. I tell it I use Kree with this lineup. I tell it I use this lineup, which I showcased in my Blitz, which Quake is going to be replaced with Black Panther as soon as possible. So I'm actually going to change this to Black Panther. Okay, so I'm mistaken about what variation is. Forget what I said. Variation lists the difference in your roster's power. So I'm going to cut out that part where I discussed variation, and I will use this correct information. And you guys will basically only know that I'm admitting, hey, I said something wrong. Here's the correct information. And then I use this team, which eventually I will get Star-Lord, and he will take the place of probably Gamora. Mantis for raids is pretty good. Maybe I'll replace her. I don't know. I'll have to play around with it. I know some people say, don't use Mantis, use Star-Lord. Some people say, use Mantis, she's good. In the end, it all comes down to what I can use. So I haven't gotten around to filling out Alpha, the Beta, or the Gamma sections. Simply because, I don't know, I have like one team that can actually do stuff, and that limits me, and we use 2 instead of 3, and we're not bound by restrictions. Yet. We will be eventually. I just saw a Discord message from Paul, and I will mess with him later. So right here, still has the variation function. This is my war tab. Not mine, sorry. The creator, who will be linked to and listed in the description. So this is my defenses, which if we go back to the game section and we go to our Alliance Wars, I'll show you where I get this information. So, yes, this is going to show a bit of our defense. No, it's not going to give you any winning strategies, because I have one of the least important sections. So, you can see right here, these are my teams, and I took a list of all my defenses. Another reason why I'm building up Hand that I discussed in Blitz is to fix this little mess up right here where I have Venom and Carnage running with Hand. I'm going to have my own team for Spider-Verse eventually. And this is just a mishmash. And then we have good old Guardians. So, let's go back to the roster manager. So that's what I have. And then I don't have attack teams set up, mainly because I usually can break apart my many teams to underdog teams. Like, for example, Wolverine is a solo for default. I've had my Wolverine actually solo a Hand team. Granted, it was a weak Hand team, but it was still something better than default minions. So, bonus points right there, personally. And, yeah. It gives you a list of your available tunes. So, this information right here is basically saying that I have 393,517 power left to allocate to either defense or attack. So I have 65 and a half, gonna round that off, or 66% of my roster remaining to use for attack or defense. And it also tells you right here how much of your roster is dedicated to defense and offense. Next up, we have the Events tab. So these legendary events, unfortunately, is something you have to fill in. This information, as of me copying over the template and filling it out, this is the next event that the creator is estimating each thing to run. So we're supposed to get an I Am Iron Man event in 18 days, apparently. Good to know. I am not ready. So what can you do in this tab? Here's what you can do. You can go event by event and list what you are using. So for my I Am Iron Man event run through, I plan on using Hawkeye, Shield Medic, Quake, Shield Security, and Shield Trooper. And target tier is set to 5 to unlock, because that's all I really care about at the moment. So it compiles your current stars and your shards and your levels based on that information you entered on the roster tab down here. Your gears, your power, abilities, etc., etc., etc. And then it has a farming calculator built in, which is telling you if you want to achieve this in the next 18 days, I need 2.72 shards of Hawkeye every single day up until the event starts. If I want Shield Medic at 5, I have to get basically 9 shards a day. Same for Quake. And then Shield Security, I have to get 11, and so forth and so forth. It's a really good tool to tell you, hey, you have X amount of days left until this event. Here's how many shards for this character you need if you want to get this character at this tier. So let's take a look at one of the most ridiculous ones right here. Invisible Woman, the event that starts soon. As of making this video, it starts in 15 hours and 20 minutes. I need 265 Green Goblin shards. I need 168 Mysterio shards, etc. and etc. I have 1 day left to get all that. To quote the great Arnold T-101 from Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, well, harder. So moving on past the legendaries, you have the flash events and special events that you can fill out if you really want to. Again, this is to manage target tiers and calculate how many shards a day you need to get this target tier. I haven't even filled them all in because I don't think it's ever going to happen. The special events right here are ever going to occur again. That being said, if one is announced, the creator will have an updated roster tool available within a week of the information being announced. I guess. I don't know. Again, I jumped like 2-point-something versions. I just recently started using this again, so I have no clue how quickly they update this. So let's move on to challenges. Basically, same thing. You list your characters. Tells you when they run, and I don't really get the point of this, which is why I only have Gold Rush filled out. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. And then Dark Dimension. Now this one I kind of understand, but at the same time, I don't. This is basically where you can set up a team and it tells you, okay, cool. Here you go. Here's information on this team. What roles do you have? What are their stars, their level, their gear, their power and abilities? Whereas Enter the Darkness, it has stars, shards, level, gear, power, abilities, and needed shards to where you can participate. So I have Drax at 6 stars. And it tells me I need 0. That means as soon as I get the rest of these guys to Enter the Darkness, star level 6, it means I'm going to be able to participate in Enter the Darkness immediately, and it just kind of gives me a rough idea. Okay, what are your current gear and levels at without actually having to log into the game? which I personally find very cool. Moving on to the Blitz tab. So this is going to give you a sure-to-win Blitz team. It's going to give you information regarding building these teams. Ideally, what you're going to want is right here. You're going to want basically at least one of these 5 tabs always checkmarked. And if you scroll down, it shows you of your available characters, what slot do they fill? What role? So I don't understand. I mean, I kind of understand why Hulk doesn't have any tags listed. Ravager Stitcher, it's not really usable. Shield Assault doesn't, etc., etc. But basically, it gives you slots for 20 usable Blitz teams, and it tells you whether or not, hey, these are going to win a lot, or hey, you need to reconsider your life decisions and play a different game. It doesn't actually say that, but it's what I like to imagine it says. So, right here, this does clarify the variance. You should try to keep this value under 5%, which is that 1500 power guideline, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 2000, I'm not 100% sure. And it provides a link to Casino's Sure to Win Blitz Team Builder, which is cool. Very good. I'm going to do my own thing, Casino. Thank you for your tools, and I enjoy watching some of your videos. Cool. Let's move on. And then it has an inventory slot, which unfortunately I do not have filled up. Nobody has the time to go through and find out exact numbers and keep up with what you need. So we're just going to skip this. If you really want to go through here you go. Enter numbers. Good luck. And now we're going to move on to the farming, which I don't use. I should. Instructions. Pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to skip it. This, I don't know what this does. And we're going to move on to the next set, which is ability focus. This is going to give you a list of all these meta teams, all these good teams. And it tells you what high priority ability levels are. So there you go. There's that. Not much to really say about that other than if you have it, it highlights green. So now we're going to move on to campaign. It gives you... Okay, so this is something I'm just now realizing, is it tells you on which chapter you can... which chapter and which, node you can find the characters, and also what inventory item you can get. So that's pretty cool, actually. So that's, if you're always, where can I get this character? You can swap over to this tab without logging into the game and oh, here's this character on this node. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like, it doesn't really have a list of store characters, but in the end, those don't really change that much. I mean, Rhino was recently added to Blitz, and Mysterio to Raid, and Rescue to Blitz Orb. Why Orb? Why can we not just buy her 5 shards for 500 credits? Different discussion, different time. Moving on to Start Tech. This is another little section that I use, and I'm actually going to go into my game to the Start Tech screen. Lance donation. So I can see I've done my daily donating. What's up with you guys? I did it. And then you go to your Start Tech, and here is where you get those percentage boosts. So I updated this 2 days ago, maybe a day ago. I'm not really sure. I was tired. I know that much. So I'm going to see if anything has changed. And it says right here, focus is at 7% for tech. I need something that did not agree with me. So I apologize if I randomly cut off. Yeah. So let's swap back over to the roster manager. So right here, I still have tech focus listed as 6%. I'm going to make that 7%. So again, there's a priority list. Green is first priority, high priority. Orange is medium priority, and third is low priority. White is... it does not matter. That being said, I'm a stickler. I want them all to be the same, whether they like it or not. So, it also will give you a list of power levels. So, like, it tells you, all right, who is getting the bonus? Minimum power level is 1. There we go. That's all my characters. Now, usable, let's say they're not usable until about 10,000, which is what I had it at. I have 23 characters. That was quick math. Yeah, 23. You can also mess around with this to give you a list of how much XP do you get each day, how many credits do you get, and it also gives you a prediction based on your own input when your alliance will reach this level. So I'm going to move on to the next one, which is red stars, which I don't use. RNGesus, you betray me. That is what I'm going to call this section right here. Basically, what you get to do is you get to pick a list of characters, so high priority characters. Daredevil and Carnage are on here for some reason. Let's very quickly play around with this. We're going to assign you group 1. All right, we have for a 3-star. Yeah, okay. So to get a 3 red star for my Daredevil and my Carnage, I have a 0.18% chance. I don't get the point of this. It's gonna happen regardless of percentiles and... Alright. I don't know. Instructions right here if you want to mess with it. It's not my cup of tea. And that is every tool, everything usable in this roster manager. It's a long video, not to worry. I'm gonna have little timestamps and jump tos for you all to click so you can watch it all in order, or if there's a certain section you're gonna be using, other sections you're not gonna be using, you can skip and you can lose out on some of my banter. It's up to you guys in the end. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will catch you guys in the next Marvel Strike Force video. Peace.